probably 10 years, 15 years ago, we didn't really think about broadband or the internet as being an integral infrastructure component. Today, in today's society, really you cannot function, or it's very difficult to function, without reliable internet broadband service.
I truly believe, and I think COVID has proven, that internet technology is the foundation by which you build a 21st century community. If you don't have good quality internet, you're not going to bring a new entrepreneur to town. You're not going to have good quality health care, especially in a rural area, and your education attainment's going to be way off too.
I think that says it all. And I believe that the next greatest thing for rural America in the 21st century is to have broadband in every home. It is just that simple.
There are many parts of South Carolina where mom or dad picks up the phone and they try to order internet and they can't get it. There is literally no provider available for their physical address.
We normally think about those that don't have access as being in rural communities, but we have a lot of successes in rural communities. And so it could be just a neighbor down the street that does not have broadband. And so there are those that are unserved, there are those that are underserved. So it's a big puzzle that has to be put together.
There are areas of high poverty, high healthcare need, high disparity on so many levels. Those areas they leap off the page and they're kind of obvious, and there's definitely a lack of infrastructure there, but pretty much every county in South Carolina has an area of need. There are pockets of Richland County, what's known as Lower Richland, where there are areas of need that feel very rural and very apart from the downtown urban areas, so we're looking at those. In Greenville County, in Charleston County, there are places that are tough to reach. It's very interesting from a purely technical perspective. The way that you reach and connect homes in the mountains, in the Oconee area, up in the Appalachians, is very different than how you would reach areas in the low country. So you want each provider to pick and choose the technology that makes the most sense to reach the homes and to do it in the most efficient way.
In Bamberg County, they estimated that 70% of the homes with kids of school age did not have internet access. So you have one community that can do 100% online education, and then you have another community where they actually have to hand out physical packets. Parents have to come pick them up, kids have to complete them within a couple weeks, they drop them off, they pick up another packet. Kids can't compete that way. I mean, it's not fair to the kids that they can't compete with their neighbors that are 30 miles away.
Just having broadband available is not enough. We have to have adaptability and we have to have affordability. And so those are some of the challenges that we will be facing, is making sure that it is affordable for our citizens and to make sure that we communicate and we educate our citizens of the benefits of adopting broadband and what it can be used for. So to me, that is a longer term project that we'll need to have.
Broadband has been a changer for a lot of practices in the county. For example, when we started working with broadband and the physician practices 7 or 8 years ago, what we found is they really did not have enough internet to run their daily operations. Electronic medical records were introduced a few years ago. So now, instead of paper files, everything is electronic. So you've got to have enough bandwidth to be able to run your EMR. And a lot of practices have x-ray machines, so you're doing digital radiology exams. And so what we found with some of our practices in these local communities is that they really didn't have enough bandwidth just to run their daily operations.
So at the federal level, there's major attention being paid to rural broadband. It was embedded actually in the multiple rounds of stimulus funding. Stimulus round 3 invested $100 million in the USDA grant program. There's a next round of broadband funding which is coming as well. So there's a lot of focus, but what we have to be really good at doing in South Carolina is understanding how to get federal grants. It's really expensive to move internet into the rural communities, and it's about $40,000 a mile to bury fiber optic cable and about $28 to $30 if you mount it on telephone poles. So when you don't have very many homes, the economics don't work fundamentally, and the only way to change the economics is with federal subsidy. So we have to be really good, expert in fact, at bringing federal money into the state, and I'm really excited that we're getting really good at it.
Well, about a year ago, I formed the Rural Broadband Task Force in the Democratic Caucus of the House of Representatives. I did that because I felt strongly that there needed to be a coordinated, concerted effort to get broadband to be treated like all other infrastructure projects. People were talking about infrastructure, roads and bridges, water and sewage, ports and rail. Well, we ought to treat the information highway in the same way that we treat the interstate highway when it comes to infrastructure. So I wanted to have a group that would adopt that approach and help me lobby for broadband to be in any infrastructure package brought forward. And we were successful in doing that.
It's going to take us coming together, but I think the one thing that we are committed that we need an Office of Broadband, we need a structure that will serve us for the long haul, because as I mentioned, this is not going to be done in 1 year.
It is just that simple. You're not going to have access to high quality health care without telehealth. You're not going to be able to adequately educate our children without online learning. This COVID-19, if it has done anything, it has exposed some real fault lines that exist in our healthcare delivery service, in our educational pursuits, and we need to do something about that. And I think that South Carolina would do itself well to put the resources into this issue that is needed to get 100% coverage of broadband throughout South Carolina. This is not a partisan issue. This is not a racial issue. We just ought to make every home accessible to affordable, high quality broadband.